Hello and welcome back to Paydown Debt Solutions. I'm Jen, and on this channel, we teach velocity banking the paydown way. Today, I want to talk to you guys about a student scenario that we had where the woman that we were working with, actually about a month ago or so, she got an offer for a limit increase, okay? So something that I mentioned the other day to you guys was if you guys don't like where you're at, ask for a better offer, right? If you don't like what your card limit is at, all you can do is ask. There is never any harm in asking these credit card issuers for a raise, right? For a raise in your limit. And I would even be honest with them and tell them, yeah, I'm going to consolidate some debt and I'm going to work my debt down. So you guys always ask for a better offer, ask for that better limit, okay? So we don't go get ahead in life by being passive, do we? We always need to take control and ask for something better or something different. When you went to get a raise, if any of you have been out there and you were looking for a raise, what did you do? You went to your boss, you sat down and you asked for a better offer, right? You told them what your worth was and that you wanted, to get compensated for it. Same thing. You're paying your bills, you're paying down your debt, you're asking for a better offer. You're giving them interest, aren't you? You're giving those card issuers an interest rate. So why not? It behooves them to go ahead and give it to you so long as you're doing your due diligence, right? And you're paying your bills monthly. So always ask for that better offer, you guys, no matter what. If there's cards out there that you're not using, and let's say there are some, they're at some smaller limits. We had somebody that we worked with the other day, and she said she has other cards out there, but they're not, the limits are low. And so I said, call on them and ask them to increase your limits. You always want to try to do that, you guys. These credit card companies, they're not evil. They're not difficult to work with in most cases. So there's no harm in calling and asking, all right? So the other thing is, you guys negotiate everything, right? I always negotiate everything that I can. So you're never going to get ahead in life if you don't. And you guys negotiate your paycheck, right? So you go in, you talk to your boss, you get a raise, right? You do that. So if you're going to go negotiate your raise, why wouldn't you negotiate almost everything that you can negotiate in life? Just like cards out there, if you guys are finding yourself in a situation that you can't work your way out of debt, if you have, if you're looking at bankruptcy and you're on the verge of bankruptcy, go in and negotiate those credit cards yourself. Don't pay somebody else to do it. You guys can handle it. You can negotiate that. All right. So how about a dead-end job? If you're in a dead-end job and you hate it, have a little gratitude for that job right now, because that job is what is paying your bills, right? And that paycheck that you're getting is going to help work down this debt. So for a little while, have a little bit of gratitude about it, right? And then change your situation later. Go out and negotiate your skills somewhere else to get that better job. So let's get into today. I want to work this scenario down for you. I want to show you guys, pretty quickly here how we changed a situation for somebody who, we worked a plan for her. So Dan and I worked a plan for her, and then she came back and she said, "Hey, I've got some really good news. I was able to get a higher limit on one of my cards." Okay, and it happened to be her debt destroyer. So we went and took another look at it, and so let's talk about it. Let's see how we would work this debt down. Okay. So we have this student scenario. We have a limit increase to 19.6. So her limit was raised from 12 something to 19.6. And so that gave her some more purchasing power, right? That gave her the ability to roll some debts in. So we wanted to take a look at it with her and, make a determination on what moves she should make, okay, to increase and work her debt down faster. So right now she has an income of $37.63. She has total expenses of $32.68, which means her cash flow is $495. So she has some decent cash flow, but it's still tight. She still feels tight at the end of the day. She has rent for $813. All right. And then this, as you can see, are all the debts that she has out there. Okay. So right now, this is her debt destroyer. It is JetBlue. Okay. So this is the one that she's going to start working her debt down with. So JetBlue is sitting at $12,936, okay, and it has a payment amount of $370 at 25%. If she were to keep conditionally, if she would keep traditionally banking, she is going to find this payoff at 4 years, 10 months, and she's going to spend $9,379 to do it. All right. So she has a Target card out there, and right now the balance is at $784. She has a payment of $50. The card is at 27%. And if she lets it run, it's going to be this should be 1 year, 8 months. 1 year, 8 months. Okay. So it'll be 1 year, 8 months, and she'll pay $193. So it's not terrible. And she's got an Apple card out there. Okay. So right now the balance is $1,363 for $35. And the interest rate is 18.2%. It would take 5 years for her to pay this off, and she'll pay $714. Now, she's got a Citi Thank You, I believe it is, a Citi Thank You card, and that is at $3,547. The payment is $182. It's at a 25.7% interest rate. It'll take 2.2 years to pay that off, and she'll spend $1,111 to do that. All right. Could put my dollar signs in here. All right, so then we've got our Citi double. It's at $12,801. The payment on that is $365, 26% interest rate, 5 years, 7 months to pay that off, $11,491 if she traditionally banks that and lets that go. Okay. So we've got a TJ Maxx card, $699 on that, $34 is the payment. 34% interest rate. You guys, these store cards are killing you. All right. These store cards are expensive. She's at 2 years, 8 months, and the amount she'll pay back is $364 on that. All right. So then what's our next card? It is American Eagle at $1,499, $52 monthly payment on that. And it's again 34%. All right. 5 years and 1 month at $1,659 to pay it back. We've got PayPal, $873. It's $100 that she owes on that monthly. It's at a 30%, okay, 30% for PayPal, and 5 months, and she'll pay back $62, all right? Then she has Raymore out there, $1,807, $200 a month. That's at 0%, so we're not too concerned with this. It'll take her 10 months to pay that one off. So what do we have here? All right, so what do we have going on? So she has a limit increase of 19, or her limit was increased, and her total on that is 19,600. All right, and she's sitting somewhere around 12 right now as her limit. So what she's offered is she can move balances over at a 5% interest rate. So they're allowing her to move it over at 5%. Okay. So we have to then determine what moves we're going to do. So what are we going to do at this point for her, and how are we going to make some changes? Well, she does have a savings account out there, and what's in her savings right now is about $5,300. Okay, so she's got $5,300. So when we took a look at all of her debts that she has, all right, one of the things that we wanted to do was to pay off this Citi double and it's at $3,547. So if we pay that off, she is still going to be left with $1,787 as a safety net. Okay, everybody has their safety net. You guys know how Dan and I feel about savings accounts. We want you guys to pay off your debts first because it makes more sense. We know that's earning what, 0.01% or something. And so if you're going to leave that sitting in a savings account at 0.01% when you can pay off, 34% store cards, why wouldn't you at that point? Why wouldn't you, right? So we're going to take and we're going to pay off this Citi Thank You. That's actually what we're going to pay off because of the way we've worked and looked at some of these, okay? So we know that we don't have enough balance to take care of this card here, the $12,801. So obviously we can't go for the highest, one of the higher payments here, right? We know we're going to use JetBlue, so this one comes back to us. Citi Double would be the next one that we would want to try to bring back to us, but we can't because it's at $12,000. We obviously can't roll that card over. So we don't, right? So we can't do that. So what then can we do? Well, if we what we can do is we're going to go after the next highest payments. Now, Raymore, we're going to leave Raymore alone because it's at a 0%, right? So it's not costing us anything. So even though it has a $200 payment and we would love to get $200 back, right? We're not going to do it because it's at 0%. There's no point in rolling that in. So we're going to leave that one alone. So what we are going to do then is we already took care of this city, right? So this one we know we're going to pay off with our savings account. Okay, so this one gets paid off. All right, so we're done with that one. Now, what we are going to do then is we are going to take these debts here. We're going to take Target, we're going to take Apple, we're going to take TJ Maxx, we're going to take American Eagle, and we're going to take PayPal. And we're going to wipe those babies out. Okay, so we're going to wipe those out. So if we do that, we need to then figure out how much is going to go, or how much our balance transfer is going to cost us, right? Because there is a percentage, it's at 5%. So we have to make sure we calculate that in. All right, so if we're starting with our 12,936, right? So that's what we're starting with. So 12,000, and that is 936. And then we have to add to it this dollar amount, right? The 5218, okay? And so, sorry, I got ahead of myself. All right, so what I did is I pulled over these balances here, right? The Target, then we've got Apple here, and then we have our TJ Maxx here, then we have our American Eagle here, and then we have our PayPal, right? So that ends up being the 5218, okay? So 5218. All right, so if we add those up, so let's do that for a second here. So we're going to take our 12,936 plus the 5218, okay, and balances that we moved over, that's 18,154. So 18,154. Okay, so that is what we're working with so far, but we know that this 5218 comes at a price, right? It comes at a price. So moving those balances over is going to cost us. And what is it going to cost us? 5%. Okay, so if it costs us 5%, we're going to take this and we're going to multiply it by 5% or 0.05, right? And that's going to equal what? All right, so let's figure that out. So we've got the 5218 times 5% equals 260.9. So we're gonna just round that up to 261. I'm sorry, so 261. All right, so then we have to add that, right? The 261. So what do we get here? So if we take our 18,154 and we add our 261, it's going to equal 84. How did I get 84? I should have 8442. So let me look at that again. So we've got 12,903. Whoops. I don't know what I did there. We'll clear that out. Okay, so 12,936 plus 5218 equals plus 261, 784 plus 1363 plus 699 plus 1499 plus 873 equals 5218. All right, well, I calculated this on, on 18,442. So I'm going to have to look at that. So I figured out what I did wrong there. And apparently I transposed these numbers. So I had 12,936. It's 12,963. So I fixed that for you guys. Okay. So now we equal 18,442. So here's our 18,44, and this should be 2. All right. So anyway, I knew something was wrong. I'm like, these balances do not add up. So apologize for that. All right. So anyway, so we have now our 18,442, and that is going to be our jumping off point, right? That's going to be what we're going to be working our debt down with, all right? So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to clear the board over here, and I'll bring it over so that we can start working our debts down and seeing how this is all going to play out. Because remember, we're taking our Target, we're taking our Apple, we're going to take our TJ Maxx, our American Eagle, and our PayPal. And so now we have to figure out what our available income is, right? And we also have to figure out what our chargeable expenses are. All right, so if we do that then, so let's take a look at our chargeable expenses. Okay, so our chargeable expenses. All right, so remember, since this is a credit card, we're working this down with a credit card. We have to break our charges down, our expenses down into chargeable expenses and non-chargeable expenses. Because you cannot run everything through a credit card, right? So we know we can't run any loans or lines of credit through a credit card. We can run all of our living expenses for the most part, unless there's a certain bill or a utility bill or something that doesn't allow you to pay via credit card, but most things do, okay? But again, those loans and lines do not. So all of these here are non-chargeable expenses, okay? So these are non-chargeable. So we have to hold those out of our income, all right? We have to hold them out of our income to be able to take care of them. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to do that, okay? So if we look at our chargeable expenses, we know we have we start with our expenses, the 32, let's see, so 3268, and then we're going to subtract off, actually, let's do this where we have some more room. So let's go and get some more room here for it. Okay, so I moved our chargeable expenses from here. I didn't want it to be too cramped, so I erased the board, moved it over here for you. Okay, so we are trying to figure out what our chargeable expenses are, right? So we're taking our total expenses, the 3268, and we're subtracting off our rent, right? Because that is a non-chargeable expense. We are subtracting off all of these because these are all non-chargeable expenses, no matter how you cut the cookie, right? They're all non-chargeables. So those equal the 1388. So I did a shortcut there and I just subtracted the 1388, okay? So then that equals our 1067, okay? So let's just make sure that that works out right. So 3268 minus 1388 equals, let's see. So 3268 minus 813 minus 1388 equals 1067. There's the 1067. Okay. So our chargeable expenses are the 1067. So the next thing we have to do is figure out our available income. So we take our income of the 3763, right? 3763. We subtract off our rent, right? Because we have to hold out all of the things that we cannot charge because that has to be run through the checking account. So we're going to hold out our rent. We're going to hold out the 365, right? Because we are still, the city double has to run, okay? So the 12,801 is running simultaneously with our other debts that we rolled into our JetBlue. So our JetBlue is running with the Target, the Apple, the TJ Maxx, the American Eagle, and the PayPal all inside of it, which equals our 18,442, okay? So we still have left that we have to take care of, or that we have to hold out the 365. So this has to be held out. And we have to hold out the 200 from Raymore because we weren't taking care of that either. That we were going to still continue to pay. Now, the JetBlue, that comes back to us, right? The JetBlue we aren't paying because when we put our income into that JetBlue card, it satisfies the payment. So we don't owe this anymore, okay? So we can basically put that back in and leave it in our income because we're using all of it to be put on that card. The income's going onto that card, satisfying what would be this payment, okay? So we don't owe it. And that's why our available income is the 3763 minus the rent, minus the double, minus the Raymore, because the rest of these were taken care of, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. So the first thing we're going to do then is we are going to start working down our JetBlue. So we have 18,442, all right? And we subtract out our 2,385, which drops us to the 1657. Okay, so 1657 is our low balance. So the high balance is 18,442. Our low balance is the 1657. And then we add in our chargeable expenses, right? Because we are purchasing those expenses, or the gas, the groceries, our utilities, our phone bill, everything's coming out of that card. So the chargeable expenses are coming off of the card. So they have to be added back in. And then our interest we have to figure, and the interest has to be added back in because they're always going to get their interest no matter what, right? Okay, so How do we figure out this interest? Remember, you guys, you're going to take your high balance, you're going to take your low balance, all right? You're going to add them together. You're going to then divide by 2. So you're going to add these together. You're going to divide by 2. And then you're going to take that number. You're going to multiply it by our interest rate, okay, the 25. So you're going to multiply it by the interest rate, which gives you a year's worth of interest. At that point, you're then going to divide that by 2, and that is going to give you the 363, okay? All right, so that's how we come up with that. So if we continue to run this down, when we add these back in, brings our balance back up to the 17,487. Okay, 17,487, and then we're going to do our checks. Is 17,487 higher or lower than what we began with? And it should be lower, and it is, because if it was higher, our strategy wouldn't be working, or we miscalculated something because we were moving in the wrong direction. Okay. So month 2, same thing. You're going to have your income come in. It's going to drop your balance to 15,102. Then you add in your chargeable expenses, you add in your interest, and it takes you to 16,512, or brings you back up to 16,512, right? And so the 16,512, is that higher or lower than the 17,487? Well, it is lower, so our strategy is working. So how long does this portion of our expenses take us, okay, or our pay down take us? Well, it takes us 15 months to pay this down, okay? And at that point, we have paid $3,125 in interest. And now our city double card, okay, so at 15 months, our city card is still at 11,302. So the next thing we have to do is handle this card here. And so we're going to then probably roll it into the JetBlue because it has a better interest rate. Okay, 26 versus 25. So we're probably going to do that. And who knows, maybe they're going to offer us another balance transfer. Maybe they'll give us 0% because now we've paid our card down to almost nothing, right? Or it is nothing at this point, I should say. So then maybe they're going to offer us 0% to bring balances back over. And a lot of times, you guys, they're going to do that, all right? But we're going to pretend that they don't. And we're going to say, okay, we're going to run it at the 25% interest rate, and we're going to see where we're at, okay? So remember, 15 months has gone by simultaneously. Our city double is at 11,302. So what interest have we spent then? Okay, so we know that our debt destroyer is 3125. Well, when I ran my calculation for you guys, we spent 3,976. Okay, so 3,976 is what we've spent in interest at this point. What did I say? 3,972, right? 3,972. Oh, sorry, 3,976. Sorry, 3,976. Oh, too funny, Jen, too funny. Okay, so we've spent 3,976 on this, okay, at 15 months. We've spent 3,125 and handle all of this, okay? So now we have to then take this and work this down. And how long does that take us? Well, you got to remember, we are going to be adding back in to our available income, right? We're going to be adding the the 365, because now we put that in here so we don't owe it anymore. So it comes back into our available income. So now our available income has changed. So when we do that, if we start with 11,302, okay, so our available income is now, what is it, 2385 plus the 365 equals 2750, okay? Oh, how do I get 2750? Hold on, wait a second. So is that right? Okay, 2385 plus 365 equals, oh yeah, 2750. Okay, so now when we start running this down, all right, so we're going to be putting 2750 now on this card. Okay, so we're going to subtract that out, and then we are going to start working this card down. Okay, so we've got 11,302 minus 2750 equals 8,552. All right. And again, we're going to have the same chargeable expenses, right? So our chargeables come out. So that's going to be or I should say work back in. So it's 1,067, right? And then we're going to have our interest, and we got to figure out what our interest is. Okay, so then to do that, how do we figure the interest? Well, let's figure it. So we're going to take 11,302. We're going to add, so our high balance plus our low balance, the 8,552. I get 19,854. Okay, so 19,854. We're going to divide that by 2 now, and that's going to give us 9,927. We're going to multiply the 9,927 by 0.25. which gives us a year's worth of interest of $24.81. And then we're going to divide that by 12 to give us 206. Okay, so 206. Hopefully I've done my math right. So 206. All right. So now we're going to work this card down. So how long does that take us? Well, let me get that for you. So I have my cheat sheet. All right. So this takes us 6 months. All right, so we're going to add, so this takes us 6 months. So 6 months. And how much interest do you think we've paid? Now remember, this is at the 25%. So it's $773. Okay, so now how long has this taken us? Well, if we take 6 and we add the 15, we're going to get what? 21 months. All right, so it's taken us 21 months total. All right, and so we're going to add these all up and find out what it cost us then in interest. Okay, so 21 months versus what? We're looking at 4 years, 5 years, well, this is 5 months. This is another 5 years. So 2 at 5 years, 1 at 4 years, 10 months. So we know it's not going to be any less, right, than 5 years versus the traditional banking. So if we look at this, let's add it up. All right, so what do we have? We've got our 31.25 plus the 39.76 plus 773. So I'm getting 7,874, and I'll do it one more time just to make sure. So 31.25 plus 39.76 plus 773. Okay. Yep. 78.74 is what I'm getting. Okay. So it took us 21 months and we spent $7,874 in interest. Okay. To run it the velocity banking strategy. So 78.74 versus 24,973. I'm picking velocity banking all day long, and I know you are too at this point. So when we have students that we work with, just like you guys, okay, we're going to take a look at their whole picture. We're going to take a look at the interest, and we are going to come up with a strategy for you, or we're going to help you come up with a strategy. And we're going to help you save a boatload of money. I hope you guys have learned something today, and I hope that you try velocity banking. You guys, it works. Dan and I know we were in a situation many years ago, right? Well, actually, 4 years ago or so, right? That's about what it was. But if you look at it, you guys, we have gotten ourselves out of debt. We've gotten ourselves out of this stranglehold that is debt, right? So many of you find yourself there, and we want to free you. That is our goal. We want nothing more than you guys to feel free from that stranglehold. Try velocity banking. I know it's different. I know it's something that you can't fathom. A lot of you can't fathom it. You're not really sure how this works. Keep watching videos. Keep watching us work down these debts for you, and you will be amazed at how much you're going to save. Have a great day, you guys. And again, my name is Jen. Dan is my husband. He also runs strategies for you. If you guys have any questions or concerns or want our worksheets, we have worksheets for you to organize your debt so you can identify and implement your strategy. Just email us at info@paydowndebtsolutions.com. We are here for you, and have an awesome day.